Uh, Hello, everyone. I'm very thankful that tonight we'll spend an hour talking about the environmental aspects of our daily life and something that we all know well about waste. My name is Iryna Myronova and I'm a head of NGO called Zero Waste Lviv. I am from Lviv, Ukraine, where one of the data art offices and I'm also deputy head of Zero Waste Alliance Ukraine. And our NGO started in 2016 when we had a so-called waste crisis in our city. And that's actually a picture from that time how the waste bins looked like around the city. Uh, I'm trained as an ecologist and I have a master degree in environmental protection from Kiev Mohila Academy. And at that point of time, I was invited to consult the city council. What can we do besides the building new infrastructure like a new landfill and also waste management facility? And we met together with other activists and also experts on waste management, and that's how we learned about the zero waste concept. And I'd like to share today with you my knowledge about the waste management at, on one hand, at the larger scale, and on the other hand, what everyone can do in our daily life to actually minimize the amount of waste which is around us and do it in the way that actually benefits our lives and is easy and fun. I'm also very glad that we have a lot of supporters from your company here in Lviv, and here I would like to say hello to Dmitro Kozitsky, Luka, Andriy, and also our best fan Afina Cherkezova. I hope they are with us, and we have a lot of fun project together. So when we talk about the waste, most of the time we are talking from the ocean perspective, and this ocean crisis and the amount of waste which is around the, about this waste islands in the Pacific Ocean and also in the Black Sea, which is close to us, it's really threatening. And if you only think that about 90 different plastic items you can find in every square kilometers of our sea, not mentioning beach and coming from waste coming from the river streams. Last year, the part of the Emblas Plus large project, the plastic waste was investigated in the Black Sea. And the results you can see on the screen are actually quite threatening. But every single item actually comes from, most of the time, comes from our streets and homes. And some people are saying, well, the ocean is far from us, but actually it's not so far. And it's also our shared responsibility to reduce the amount of waste that is actually coming from our daily life into the natural environment. Because I believe that we all will benefit from the cleaner environment, and it's very not only because we want to save the earth, protect nature, or anything else, but it's much more beneficial for us as humans to live in the clean environment that is able to provide all ecosystem services to us, like clean air, clean water, and actually nice environment around us. So waste is actually a nice topic to start even broader environmental conversation. It's a top of the iceberg, and we all recognize waste as a problem, and it's something that we can deal with. But behind the scene, we can also see the other environmental problems like resource depletion. And waste is actually a nice word in English because it means that we not it's not only trash, it's much broader notion of for example, like wasting our time, wasting our opportunities. And if we look at waste as actually a process of wasting natural resources, wasting energy that we spend to produce different goods, wasting some extracted material, wasting land, wasting agricultural land, wasting food, we can actually do something to prevent this waste. Also, waste is related to the climate change in the numerous ways. For example, all food waste which goes to the landfills becomes a methane, a strong climate changing greenhouse gas. On the other hand, when we enhance, for example, as one of the waste management solutions, some people would say, is incinerating waste, producing energy from waste. But then we are actually burning fossil fuels and to bring even more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So it's much more beneficial to actually prevent waste. And we are not even talking about the health problems related to waste, economic disparity, and especially right now, quite a lot of waste from developed countries ends up in developing countries and causing a lot of again, health problems and environmental pollution through this country in the world. But probably the most urgent problem would be a biodiversity loss, because with every single acre of land that we use for either agricultural production or extraction of natural materials or building cities, we actually take something from nature and then dumping this old trash back to the nature. From 1970, we already have lost 58% of animals on the planet. It's a huge number. But on the other hand, preventing our household waste, we actually can add up to solving all this very global problems with our environment. So we learned about zero waste movement from our European colleagues, and already almost more than actually 400 municipalities around Europe, quite a lot of them are in Italy, already developed their programs based on the zero waste approach. And also we have a number of NGOs around Europe. So go to Zero Waste Europe webpage and also check for the NGOs in your countries. And that's a great source and starting point for the conversation about waste prevention. In Ukraine, we have established Zero Waste Alliance Ukraine, I already mentioned, and I'm a deputy head of it. Yes, and co-founders are our NGO Zero Waste Lviv, but also our partners from Kyiv, O0, and Zero Waste Kharkiv. What we do, we actually try to rethink the way we approach waste problem using the pyramid. This one is it's a print screen from Zero Waste Europe webpage, but it starts with reviews, rethink, redesign, and there are a lot of technical information there. But I would go to this a little bit more easier version of it, which was proposed by Bear Johnson. Bear Johnson is famous for actually starting zero waste movement in the United States, in California, and since 2013, she already published her book, Zero Waste Home, and the book was also translated into Ukrainian 2 years ago. And I encourage all of you to find the book or to subscribe to Bear Johnson's account in social media and actually learn about this first steps we all can do. But the pyramid starts from the very first step, which means refuse. So we have a lot of items in our daily life that we don't particularly need, but since they are there, we use them. And sometimes, especially through different business services, we are convinced that we can't live without them, that we have to use them, that it's service for us. But is it a good service for nature, and do we really need them? We'll go through all the pyramid down there, but I would like to point you that recycle and rot are actually fourth and fifth steps for us, because somehow the attention for recycling is so strong in Ukraine, and I know that in other countries as well, that the only way to approach the waste crisis is to start recycling. But unfortunately, very little materials are actually good for recycling. And most of it still doesn't help us to bring the necessary resources to all people around the globe. But let's look what we can do in our daily life. So here you can see also a picture about our former approach, which was like linear economy, that something, the natural resources were extracted, then something was produced, sent to the supermarket, we would buy it, use it, and then throw away. And all the trash would stay in a large bin outside somewhere, either on the landfills or even worse, in the natural environment. Then we have recycling, so it helps a little bit. But today, world is considering changing the system, going to circular economy. And especially in Europe, circular economy becomes a new model, and the all systems and legislation starting from 2014 in the European Union is actually changing to the circular economy. Basically, we have to learn how to produce and use things so that we don't have all this waste, meaning both trash and wasting wasting resources. And it's, as I said, our shared responsibility. So we can do it as a citizens, considering our shopping behaviors, considering our daily life, or we do it at home, but also considering as a business, what are our operations inside the company, either it's, again, supermarket, shop, big factory, or even IT company. What is our service we provide to people or to other companies? Do we encourage them to produce waste, or do we actually help them to reduce amount of waste along the road? And obviously there is a responsibility coming from government because they are the one who's setting the rules, how the systems, how the economy operates, how people behave. So putting a little bit of pressure, not a little bit, a lot of pressure to our local municipal governments and to the national governments to actually work on preventing waste. On the first place, supporting the switch to the circular economy principles is our responsibilities as a responsible, again, citizens and business. So, who produces waste? That's the regular street waste bin on the Friday night, and we can see that actually amount of packaging is exceeding the size of the bin. But is it our responsibility as citizens, or is it maybe tourists are coming, or maybe some institutions do something, or maybe even businesses encourages us to do this mess? Well, as I said, it's shared responsibility, and a systematic approach is needed to actually prevent this business instead of putting even bigger, larger waste bins on the street. Uh, we usually start with the so-called brand audits or waste audits. We take a look what is inside of this street bins, and we discovered that actually two-thirds of the waste bin is, sorry, two-fifths of the street waste bin are recyclable materials like glass, like some bottles and cans. Then one-fifth of this trash bin is actually paper cups from coffee to go. So even by changing the way the coffee to go system operates in our city, we would reduce one-fifth of the street bins. And then obviously we have organic and some mixed ways that are not recyclable. So for this recyclable, we need either or prevent using them or change again the packaging, the system, so it is either reusable or recyclable. This is my favorite commercial from social commercial from New York City. Actually, New York City, together with San Francisco, are the champions in the United States who started the working on zero waste approach there probably 7 years ago, I believe. And the New York City asked 11 million of their residents to actually start with simple 3 steps. Bring your own bottle, bring your own mug, and bring your own shopping bag. That's very simple, but actually if many people will change their daily behavior towards this first smaller step, we can reduce quite a lot of waste around. And they'll just start noticing how many single-use items are around us. Then actually single-use used items, some of them are already even prohibited in the European Union because of their actually the problem they cause in the marine ecosystems, have a reusable analogies. And at some point, someone proposed services for us that, well, let's go and use single-use packaging because the life is faster. We need everything have with us to go. We need everything replaceable. And now we ended up with a lot of trash around. On the other hand, quite a lot of things actually exist in their reusable forms, and it is quite convenient to use them. There are more and more shops around you can go and find these reusable items. but on the other hand, it's not. Uh, it wouldn't be bad decision to actually use what we already have and make sure that we don't buy a lot of new items just because they are more trendy, more nice for Instagram. But actually, our joint task would be uh, trying to minimize our purchases on every occasion. And if it means using some items we already have at home, even though they are made of plastic or let's say, but they are still good for usage, let's go and use them. Uh, I also have, that's now I'll start with some just pictures from some banners from what we are doing together as a Zero Waste Alliance, Zero Waste Lviv, and some items that we are promoting. But for example, for here's information more for ladies, but also for men to encourage your female friends to go and switch for reusable because sanitary products like menstrual products and also baby single-use diapers it's 2% of our household municipal waste and there is more healthy and that's very important that this reusable items they are more healthy for females exist and actually are quite good for environment as well. We also encourage you to look and to find some thrift shops around your area. Find charities where you can donate your either good clothes or other things that you have, but they are perfectly good to for use, but you don't need them. And then consider before buying something you need. Maybe you can borrow it from someone if you need it, for example, for one time, or you will use it not very often. For example, in Toronto, the tool library was open, and I know about the that it becomes more and more popular thing because how often do you need a hammer or even bigger equipment? You can just go and take it somewhere, and much more people can use it. On the other hand, there is a large or increasingly popular become the concept of shared economy. We know about Uber, we know about uh, help me with sharing apartments, the famous actually platform. So sharing things become more and more popular. So probably starting with sharing, for example, cars with your colleagues coming to work, not because you can't afford having your own car, but just because it's more environmentally friendly would be a good way to go and reduce amount of greenhouse gases around. Uh, Another trend, especially in the European Union, is unpackaged local shops with local and seasonal. Sometimes there are initiatives with ugly fruits and vegetables where you can go and buy different things without packaging. Because if you go to the local supermarket, most of the time the goods which are there travel quite a long way, a long distance to get there. and usually they are overpacked, which mean that you will bring a lot of waste back home from the supermarket. But even with that, we have some good success stories here in Lviv. And now I'm coming to my favorite fifth R. It means rot. And we will talk a little bit about composting. This is a picture of my composting bin in my apartment. So yes, I keep red wigglers. This is a kind of worms that help to convert my food scraps into black soil, biohumus, and it is actually called the black gold because the productivity of our agricultural lands heavily depends on the amount of this the fertility of land depends on the biohumus. I actually was very surprised to learn that even Environmental Protection Agency of the United States on its website, it's an analogy of a Ministry of Environment would be in Ukraine or any other countries. They promote home composting among citizens. And in New York City, City Council supports and provide some extra funds and refunds for citizens who buy composting houses, composting bins for themselves, and also provides trainings how to do it. I will not share and show you right now my worms, but I encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, Zero Waste Lviv, and you can find their video where I show how to actually start the composting at home and what to do it. And but if you don't want to have red wigglers, worms at your apartment, well, maybe it's a good thing to start community composting. And I was surprised once when I learned that actually it is more than 1/3 of our household waste consists, the 1/3 is actually food scraps. And then we also have some paper, some handkerchief, some green waste like leaves and grass around that actually can be composted, and then we would have some fertilizers for our green spaces around the houses. So my favorite example would come from Brussels, where City Council encourages people, provide again training, and establishes this community composters around the city. So you can find right now about 160 such community composters with this wooden boxes. We already have similar pilot like that here in Lviv for condominiums. Started piloting and training their residents on how to compost near their houses. So it's pretty straightforward thing to do. Keep your organic waste at the separate bin at your apartment, and then bring it to the wooden box outside of the apartment. Add some dry leaves and grass there, and you will have compost there. Then remember I told you that not all materials can be recycled, and we have some material that are actually eternally recyclable. For example, glass and metal. So these two are very good materials for recycling. So they are quite good materials for both packaging and reusable use. Right now, a lot, a new um, rise in popularity goes to the deposit and return system. We might all remember from the 20 years ago, not all, but if you're at least as old as I am, when we would buy something in the glass bottle and then bring this bottle back to the store and get a refund for that. So that's a good system that actually comes back. Here in Lviv, we even have some companies who provide food delivery using the glass containers, and it is waste-free. And at the same time, it helps to prevent non-recyclable single-use plastic waste. And yes, unfortunately, most of the plastic that we use for delivery of food is actually non-recyclable. So also a lot of people asking, how about the paper cups? How about the paper plates and boxes for example, Thai food, which is very popular right now? Well, all the paper boxes and cups, they have the extra plastic coverage on itself, so to prevent leaking, and that's why they're very hardly recyclable. And it's really difficult to take away the paper from it. So if we want to remove them from the trash bins, we have to actually go for reusable. Another thing, well, organic waste, food waste, green waste would be also eternally recyclable, because we compost organic waste, it becomes a fertilizer, then new plants are growing on this fertilizer, and then we consume some of it, or we enjoy watching green grass or trees around, and at some point it also again decomposes, and the life goes on. The paper is an interesting material because the paper actually it can be recycled up to 6-7 times, and the end use and recyclable product would be the egg containers that oh, I have around here some of it. So this type of container would be the last one that can be recycled. But then you can put the paper, because it's originates from nature, from trees. You can put it back to the composting, and it's very good for composting. But the most problematic part is about plastic. And plastic is not all plastic is recyclable, and we know that all plastics, there are all sorts of plastics with very different abilities, with very different functions, and all these differences in plastic, in color, in clarity, in plasticity, means that some extra elements have been added there, which makes it really, really difficult to actually process and recycle. On one hand, we have pretty simple formulas for plastics, but on the other hand, we have a lot of very complex substances here. Usually, all plastics would have some mark for the recyclability, for the recycling purposes. All plastic would be marked with different signs. If you look at the top of the bottle, like with, take for example, here I have my bottle from milk. You will, I don't know whether you will see, but usually on the top of the, on the bottom of the plastic bottle, there would be this triangle with some numbers inside. It's international system, so you will find it in every country, and usually the plastics with number 1, 2, 4, or 5 can be recycled. But then there is number 3, and it's polyvinyl chloride. You know it as a, for example, commercial banners are made of it, or some sidings, or sometimes window frames are made of it. This type of plastic contains chlorine, and on one hand, it's quite toxic in production, and then it's really, really impossible to recycle it. And number 6 is very, very common type of plastic. Most of our utensils and food containers actually is made from this number 6 plastic, and it's not recyclable. And then there is number 7, probably even more numerous, because it means every other types of plastic. So we have 6 and everything else. And so it's really difficult to deal with this everything else. So let's remember about the pyramid, about 5 R's, and try to actually reduce amount of waste, and especially non-recyclable waste, and especially one we can actually afford to not using, like food containers. And then prefer something that is more easily recyclables and internally recyclables, like glass, metal, or plain paper. I hope we had an experiment in Lviv. Sorry for some Ukrainian names there. But it's examples of 21-day challenge we proposed to citizens of Lviv to actually look at their daily life from the waste generating perspectives. And actually, every day we would give some tasks, and people would report back what they learn about the waste and what they can actually change with the waste. I hope that one day we will have an opportunity to maybe play with you this game. And again, it's not enough for each of us to take care of all waste. We also need businesses and government. But remember, we voting for politicians coming into their offices, and then we voting for different businesses to exist, because we voting with money to them. And if we start supporting businesses that provide us better services without making us generating waste, and supporting businesses who help us to reduce the amount of waste, we actually changing the system and the rules of game. We had an opportunity to work with the different supermarkets in Lviv last year, encourage them, for example, to change the way they provide services to their clients, so that the clients, we as consumers, don't need to use so many plastic bags around, and also plastic gloves. And we encourage, on the other hand, customers to go to the supermarkets with their reusable bags. And then some supermarkets would encourage their customers, developing different loyalty programs to those who have good environmental stand, for example, coming with their reusable bags. The campaign was really successful in Lviv, and we managed to bring together and work together the largest companies here. And I must say that the law on plastic bag ban in Ukraine was the only law from the all waste management package that was passed through the parliament last year. So we, with some campaigns starting from Lviv, we were able to actually influence and change the perception about the plastic bags around the countries. And actually businesses supported it because they now need to buy less plastic bags. Well, you will ask, how about pandemic? And the reason, one of the reasons we have our meeting today using Zoom is actually because we have a big challenge coming from the health perspective. Well, plastic actually is not always helping us here as well, because as we have learned that the virus can survive in the plastic for more than 3 days, and that covering everything with plastic is actually providing more surfaces where COVID can survive. So keeping our hands clean and keeping the distance, and also some quarantining or cleaning our goods that we bring from the supermarket is actually of much more help than covering everything with a single-use plastic again. Again, we started our conversation from the how the plastic gets and waste gets into the ocean. And here is some pictures from our water treatment companies. And through our city, actually, a lot of plastic can get into the natural environment. But fortunately, it is kept on the within the system. It's cleaned and then sent to the landfills. But then we pay for that through paying for the repairing at the water companies. And here is, you can see in the picture, mayor of city of Lviv and former minister of environment. And even for them, it was a big discovery to see actually how waste is related to the water treatment and sewage treatment. And coming back to our brand audit and our joint project with some of your colleagues from Data Art, calling Zero Cup, we want really to change the system in Lviv, and that's some coffee cups from different, from only one short street in Lviv, and that's a good picture to remember that every single item of waste actually has a brand name. And developing, I know that there are a lot of service designers among you, and remember that in your work you will have now on and more consider not only the convenience of the services, but also environmental impact of that. But on the other hand, we have understanding from the coffee companies here in Lviv, and the first step they took to decrease the amount of waste around is proposing and encouraging their customers to bring their reusable cups, and they provide either discounts or some bonuses for those customers. And here is one of the popular coffee to go networks in Lviv, who actually reached that every seventh cup in their cafe is sold in the reusable cup. But we want to go further, and this is the system from Germany, and now around the country a lot of cafes participate in this reusable cups system. So you can buy a coffee in reusable cup, and you pay €1 for the cup, and then you can give it back in other participating coffee shop and get your money back. Very convenient that we also, the similar systems work in Graz, Austria, and other countries. Then we work a lot with the restaurants and help them to provide zero waste services. And for those of you who have ever visited Lviv or who are from Lviv, you know about one of the largest restaurant network, and they were also among those who supported the zero waste movement here, and actually ditched some of the single-use items from the restaurants and went old way, old style, reusable, old school reusable, and then help us to promote different things. We also encourage you to come to our Zero Waste Fest events. This is the advertisement from the last one, and we hope that we will do another one next year. But for zero waste ingredients for the businesses and services, it's setting a goals, look into your waste bin, what you want to reduce, meet the team and partners, and evaluate what waste might come from, apply 5 R's, and communicate every single step. And that's a good, it's not only good for events, but also for offices. And I know that you have a green team in your company, so go and get together and try to make your company more waste-free. And again, use reusables at different festivals and events. Probably, I hope that after pandemic, we will get back to our normal life and more festivals will be around. And especially I miss Craft Beer and Vinyl Festival, because it was among the first who actually went for reusable glasses. And actually, reusable glasses are more, how to say, it's easier to sanitize them. So it's even safer to use reusable food packaging than single-use one. And yeah, this is again a picture from Bear Johnson. That's the amount of trash she produces together with her 2 sons and husband in a year. And I believe that all of us can do that as well. And I took quite a lot of time for my presentation. I still hope that you are around with me, because I have one more thing to share with you. Actually, now I stop sharing my screen here. because I want to show you some things that actually help us also reduce the waste. As you know, as we talked about, that in supermarket, quite a lot of things are coming packaged, and especially it's true when it comes to greens. But every one of you can actually grow your own salad at home. It took me 10 days to have this pack of fresh greens. And you can see this long tails, it's greens from pea. Then also I can show you some sunflower greens. Here you can see the radish, and also the tiny one are arugula. So it takes actually you can use any container you have. The only thing you need to make some holes in the container. And another thing that you need some layer there to put to keep the roots rooted, and also to keep the moisture there, and but at the same time to prevent a little bit from decaying or something like that. So for that, I would recommend you to use actually sort of the natural cloth like that, or if it's you can buy it at either at the store, at online stores, like you can buy some seeds. You can also order this type of clothes and then give it to composting, or you can use other types of just a regular, for example, earth. So that's another container I used. It's a just more common container. It's from the eggs. Yeah, I put it into the upper leaf, and it's great because it contains quite a lot of moisture, and you need just a little bit of earth to put down there. Then you just moisture it a lot with water, but you don't plant seeds as regular, so you don't push them close to you just put them on the top of the soil, not like making any rows and cover it with soil, and then keep it in the dark for 2 days so it can put out some roots, and then put it on the sun, and in 10 days you will have this nice box of your own tasty, full of vitamins salad. So I hope I was useful for you tonight. And now I'll probably switch to the questions. Yeah. So, do we have any question in the chat? Or So now I am looking at some of your questions. I hope you, Lena Shai is still here with us. And the question is asking, I have a question about using masks. Is there any difference between bamboo toothbrush and miswak from eco perspective? And well, I have to Google what the miswak is, right? Miswak. Haven't heard about it. Maybe I'll learn more from you tonight. And it's also a part of this. Okay, I know what miswak. Well, tooth hygiene is really a tricky question because on one hand, we really want to have our teeth healthy. And on the other hand, if we brush our teeth properly twice a day, the toothbrush actually gets bad even less than in 3 months. You have to look look on your teeth first of all, and make sure that there is no signs of the teeth stone on your teeth, and make sure that using miswak you actually are able to reach the space in between your teeth. And obviously every person is different, and for some it can work, for someone it's still better to use a toothbrush. On the other hand, what I've learned from my dentist is actually that very important is to use the some I forgot the English name for that. The actually brush that helps you to reach inside between your teeth. And we've learned that there are actually a lot of this brushes made of bamboo, and it's really good thing to think about dental hygiene as something that even that you actually taking good care of your teeth is preventing even much more waste from going to going to dentist for some how to say to treat your cavities inside. So I don't have probably the answer for sure, but make sure that your teeth are healthy. That's the most waste minimizing and most important thing should be. Okay, go further. Would be bad for what? For compost topic. Not sure I understand correct what to do with a compost after the trash bin would be full. Is there any regulations about that? So for composting, after your composting bin is full, you can actually add some special bacteria, mix of bacteria called bokashi, and that's Japanese name, but it's usually you can buy them in the organic gardening or permaculture societies around different cities. But Google bokashi, and you add them to your composting bin, and they help you help the organic matter to decompose. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, if it is some bucket at your home, or for 2 or 3 months if it is the large container outside, you can use this a little bit compost matter and mix it with the soil, and it will make a perfect food for organism living in the soil. Okay. What is the easiest vegetable to grow at home? What is the easiest start? And about toothbrushes, is electronic toothbrush more eco than regular one? Okay. So for growing vegetables, the smaller is the seed, the easier is to grow it. So for example, that's my jar with seeds for mustard. Actually, mustard is a great plant, because I use them for both. On one hand, I plant the seeds, and you can see they are numerous here and not picky. On the other hand, I actually grain the seeds and use them as a perfect dishwasher substance. It actually take away fat from our dishes very easily. So it's a natural, and it's the greens actually have this a little bit spicy taste of mustard. So for me, I would say go for mustard, but also radishes and arugula would be a good choice to start. And then going back to toothbrushes, what I've learned from my dentist, that electronic toothbrushes are actually, and it's scientifically proven that they clean our teeth better than we can do with any type of hand brushes. So if you have the electronic one, please use it, but consider changing batteries, single-use batteries, to rechargeable ones. So, and in this way to reduce your waste, but you still have you still have to change the heads of the electronic toothbrush quite well, and dispose them. Okay, can you please advise on where to buy solid shampoo and tablet toothpaste in Ukraine? Oh, first of all, go to our Instagram or Facebook, Zero Waste Lviv, and we have different options of shampoo and shampoo bars. And also there are other zero waste shops. For example, in our colleagues from O Zero, they have tableted toothpaste from Germany, Hydrophil, I believe. But there are quite a lot of different shops around, zero waste shops in Ukraine already, fortunately. If you could give one tip to a person who wants to become more ecologically responsible, what would it be? My answer would be kind to yourself, and don't try to have any guilt about the trashing environment. Yeah, but at the same time, try to eliminate one single-use item at a time. Just start from noticing what's in your trash bin, and try to different things, and maybe you'll find something that works best for you. Again, start with the New York advice. Bring your own water bottle, and actually it's a great way to remember to drink water. Just go from the drinking water perspective. Have your own bottle and try to drink 2 bottles per day. Usually these bottles are either 1 liter or 750 milliliters, so it would work for your health and for health of environment. Or then bring your own shopping bag. And I know about fabulous bag sets that at least your colleagues in Lviv office have. Start with the simple things, and then just one single use item at a time. Okay. Do we have any other questions? I don't. Please write. If not here, please join us or in the social media. We are in Instagram and on Facebook. We have YouTube channel, and especially for those who are from Ukraine, get in touch, and let's make less trash together. So, should I say thank you and say goodbye to you? Is there? Okay. No more questions, and it's 7:41 in Ukraine. So we are together more than 1 hour. So I think that it's time to say goodbye to everyone. And thank you for being here, for your questions, and for your interest in the topic. And I hope we'll see each other in the virtual world in the future. Okay. Thank you and goodbye.